Hey guys, Double Wide 6, and today what I'm working on is a Toro CCR 2000E. It's a 4.5 horsepower snowblower, small 2-cycle paddle driven snowblower. We're going to show you how to take this apart, and we're going to go through and clean the carb because that's what this one needs. These units are pretty nice because they're lightweight. They're easy to throw on your truck if you're out plowing. And the problem with working on them is you got to remove all the covers to get down to the carburetor. The carburetor is up under here. You can see it from here. And you can also take the bowl off from the bottom, but you can't get to the spark plug and the carburetor without removing the covers. So I'm going to show you everything you need to do to remove the covers. So first thing, I'm going to take the key out of it, and I've gone through and loosened the bolts to speed things up. So there's 3 5/16 bolts on the front cover. There's a handle attached. Got to remove the handle. So there's 2 7/16 bolts there. The gas cap needs to come off. And then down at the bottom, there's 2 Phillips head bolts with nuts on the bottom. I think they're 7/16. And then for the chute, there's 3 half-inch bolts. This one only had 2 in there. And I believe everything is loose now, so we should be able to get that cover right off. Now that we loosened up the exterior bolts, we should be able to pull the cover off. And it's not going to go anywhere, you can pull it out of the way. That should be good. Now we need to access the bottom panel. I put the machine in the service position so it's standing upright, and there are 2 bolts in the handle that hold the bottom cover. These are each 3/8. The bottom cover is now loose, so I should be able to slide this off. Okay, we're into the carburetor. There's a number 5 metric bolt. There's actually 2 of them right here. And that releases the pins that hold the carburetor on. The choke came undone when I removed the cover, and the only other thing on here is the primer line and the fuel line. The carburetor's loose now. There's a fuel line, and there's a clamp to that. Well, that's pretty loose, so it spins, so that's nice. Just having trouble getting on those tabs. So there's that. Looks like we should have a smaller clamp on there. There's that, and there's a primer line as well. Alright. There's a linkage on here. I just want to show you how that's connected. On the back of the carburetor is the throttle linkage, and there's a spring as well. So there's two holes, the bigger one's for the linkage, the smaller one's for the spring. I'm just going to unhook those. Oftentimes these units have Tecumseh 2-cycle engines, and this one has a Japanese carb, and it looks a lot like a Honda, the starter recoil, but I'm pretty sure this one's a Suzuki 2-stroke. So if you know what it is for sure, you can let me know. Looks like a Honda or Suzuki to me. Okay guys, I got the carb up on the bench, and this is like a Suzuki carb, I believe. So we're going to try the 14 mil. Seems like it's it. The only problem with Suzuki carbs is I don't have these parts on hand if I need anything. Although, yeah, these gaskets look alright. So, alright, we'll just disassemble this. And this has a spring on it, so we're going to have to be careful with that. I'm going to bring you in and show you guys that so we can see how that goes on there. So the spring that's on here, it's very hard to see. It anchors up here, it goes across, it winds around here, and the other anchor point is down here on the float. So in order to get it off, you got to unanchor this. There we go. And then you can slide out that pin. Very small spring. Okay, we'll pull the float off. Actually, we're going to have to remove this plastic cover first. I think that stops the float from opening too far, and same with the spring, it keeps a little bit of tension on it so it doesn't flood itself. The bowl gasket, that looks like it's in good shape. Very nice thick bowl gasket. That thing's almost a 1/4 inch. And up in here we have our main jet and emulsion tube, so I'm going to grab a screwdriver to get those out. The screwdriver I'm using doesn't taper out and get any wider, so it shouldn't damage the threads getting in here. And I feel like I'm seated on the main jet, so I'm going to try and turn it. That feels really tight. I'm going to move this over to a vise. Using a vise is going to give me a lot more leverage to turn this and get out this main jet. You just don't want to strip it. That's nice, the emulsion tube's attached to it. There's 2 remaining screws. This one was set out 1 1/4 turns. And this one's all the way in. So I'm going to put the unit in the ultrasonic cleaner. I have some, well, pretty old Purple Power in there. Should do fine. And I have a basket for the small parts. So yeah, I'm heating that up, and I'm probably going to run it for about a half an hour. Well, that was pretty close to a half an hour. So, gonna go through here and see what we got. You can see it's already looking way better than when I put it in. Okay guys, I blew carb cleaner through all the different ports and holes and vents. So that's all done. I took a Q-tip, cleaned out the seat where the needle goes, and all these parts look really good. And you know, most of that's attributed to the ultrasonic cleaner. I don't use it all the time, and that's because if the carburetors really aren't that bad, I don't use it because it's an extra step. So we're gonna go through and start reassembling this. I just want to show you this spring because it's very small. It's coiled up on this left hand side and the end locks into the float like that. The other end comes across the back here and it hooks onto the hinge pin. There's a hook on that spring, it locks onto there. So that's kind of how it goes. And I believe when it was on there, it was up top, so that's how I'm putting it on. It's actually putting a little force and pushing the float up towards the top, so it just doesn't drop down. You can see how it's kind of holding itself a little. That's the way you want it. This emulsion tube, it's connected to the main jet. I was not able to remove it. I didn't want to damage it, so I just cleaned it out best I could. Wasn't sure. I didn't want to take a vice grip. I tried a needle nose pliers. I was trying to hold on to it, but it was spinning, so I didn't want to damage it. While I was waiting for the ultrasonic cleaner, I fixed the scraper bar. It was damaged here, so I welded this where it was cracked. I put a new 14 gauge steel plate behind the plastic, and I added that bolt because it was missing and secured everything, so that should be good. And now what we're doing is we're putting the carb back on. Now we're ready to put on the carb. Luckily I had the right gasket in stock, and there's a linkage here that we don't want to lose. So we're going to start with this and put that on, and the spring, looks like the spring goes in the same hole. These springs are to help it smooth out, not surge. Alright, so I think That's right, it's just that spring's putting some tension on it. I'm going to hook up the primer, and while I was ultrasonic cleaning, I replaced the actual primer bulb. Should be good for that. Okay, we're going to hook up the fuel line, but I want to put a new clamp, a smaller one on this end. I also changed the fuel filter on the unit. It's always good to do with 2 cycles because of the oil tends to bind up. Alright, the only other thing to do is there's a choke here. We want to make sure that that's connected to the carburetor. So we'll turn this upright. Actually, I got to put that bottom plastic pan in. The hardest part of working on these 2-cycle machines is putting them back together. So you got to get all these covers to line up, which isn't that easy to do. Okay, I got the cover on here, and you can look through here and make sure that your choke linkage is connected and everything seems good there. I've got the dashboard kind of separated because of the primer, and the primer hose is run through. I put a new primer on because this one was damaged. It was actually a used one. And I think we're about ready to put this together. This is always the hard part. Alright, that lined right up. I'm going to do the other side. There we go. So we'll snug these guys up. Should be good. And then we have our dashboard, which goes on like that. And here's the primer we're using. So we'll hook that up. And we'll try and slip this through. Yeah, it's going to be a tight fit. I'm going to have to adjust that metal a little. Okay guys, I put gas in it, I got it all back together. We're going to see if this will fire. Alright guys, this one's all wrapped up, so what I'm going to be doing next is the auger is not pulling itself very well, so I'm going to be putting on some new auger pads, and I'll probably make a video of that, so stay tuned and hit that notification bell so you know when my videos are coming out. Thanks for watching guys, have a good one.